Introduce David Jordan. Okay, we have a very special guest today. On November 30th, 2018, Governor Rick Scott appointed David Jordan as the tax collector of Lake County, filling the vacancy created by Bob McKee's retirement. David Jordan is a lifelong resident of Florida, as is his wife, Charlotte, a registered nurse. They live in Tavares and have 3 grown children. David has been with the Lake County Tax Collector's Office for 19 years. He served as Mr. McKee's chief deputy, and as such, he was and is responsible for the operations of all service centers and for the fiscal management and administrative functions of the tax collector's office. Prior to working with Mr. McKee, David was a paramedic here in Lake County, where he developed professionally and rose to the rank of Vice President of Operations for a multi-county emergency medical service. David graduated from Umatilla High School, then Lake Technical College as an emergency medical technician and paramedic, and received certification as a Florida firefighter from the Kenneth A. Bragg Public Safety Training Complex. David attended Lake Sumter State College and graduated from Warner University with a BA in Organizational Management. David acquired the designation of Certified Public Manager from the Florida State University, as well as the Florida Department of Revenue's Certified Florida Collector status, and has earned over 400 hours of continuing education credit. David serves as the VP of the Lake Sumter State College Foundation and is the recipient of the Lake Sumter State College 2018 Distinguished Alumni Award. David is passionate about serving the public and is committed to being a sound steward of his constituents' time and money. Mr. Jordan is the 9th Lake County tax collector to serve the community since the office was founded in 1887. I'm very pleased to introduce David Jordan.
I guess it'd be good afternoon at this point. All right. First and foremost, thank you very much for the opportunity to come speak before you. And I want to stop right here and do the most important thing, I think, and that is I need to recognize my staff. Lovely ladies, Kathy Adrid. Kathy is my chief of staff. Basically, that means she's got a ton on her shoulders of responsibility, particularly on all aspects of the operation of the office. She has an unbelievable CV. She is talented both in the operational side of things as well as the financial budget, anything in the fiscal aspect of her office, she is an expert in that. And her husband, Rob Madrid, is an executive with United Southern Bank and a fine gentleman. Mr. Lisa. Ms. Lay. Tricia Lay has been with our organization for 4 years or so, and she is our executive administrative assistant, and she assists with HR duties, is also helping out with some of the financial things and other. So she has multi responsibilities in the office, and she's just the most gracious Christian lady you can ever imagine. Something popped in my head before I got up to speak, and it came from our Creator, I believe. This morning, reading something, let me back up. I'm going to speak today as the constitutional officers and tax collector of Lake County. So in that, I'm going to speak about my ministerial duties that you've been trusted with me, that the governor has by appointment. So this is a political event, or body, or if you want to say, or club. So I want to talk first, separating the two things, which is when we talk about these things at our party as members that really passion us, stir us sometimes we also know that, thank you, Mr. Marks. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we have to keep our eye on the ball. We have to keep our heads up. We can't live delusionally as if these things don't exist. That's not positive thinking. That's running your head into a brick wall eventually. But in our endeavor to preserve our country that we were blessed by God to have, and the men and women who have preserved it, we have got to keep our eye on the most important of all, and that's our Lord, in my opinion, because that's who's got us. And I just want to read something to you. I'm going to anyway. There's someone I'm more concerned with at the moment. And that is, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not be afraid. I just thought that went well with what we're up against politically in our battle to preserve our country, our state, our county, our cities, etc. So we have a balancing act, I think. We have to be loving, by the way, Valentine's Day hearts. Loving, and you all know the definition of love. And to, again, be realistic about what we're faced against and not be afraid to face it. And of course, we have a way we can all go about how we face those things. And to each of us, we're convicted accordingly of how we do that. So I'll stop there because it's not my place to direct that. But I'll tell you, I am a Republican. I have been a Republican since the day I registered to vote in Lake County when I was a very young person. I understood, even at a very young age, basic principles of the Republican Party. And that was in March 12th. It was. And the first person I can remember voting for was Ronald Reagan, which was the thrill. And also I am a conservative-minded individual about the duties of government. I think government should be limited to the point that I think some people would find offense to it. I believe that you should be a good steward of the public's money, always remembering it's the public's money, not the office holders. I would propose to you that my actions as a public servant for my entire adult life have, I hope, been demonstrative of that. And a host of other things I heard about, absolutely a Second Amendment supporter, and I could go down the list, and I know a lot of people when they run for office will say all these things, but I can give you a Second Amendment connection to this. The Office of the Tax Collector, by statute, has the authority to choose to issue or have an intake for a concealed weapon permit in Florida. It is not a mandate from the legislature. Mr. McKee signed an agreement when that was first available. We worked with Mary Hammer to get this law passed by one of my colleagues, Carol Jean Jordan, who used to be the chair of the Republican Party, who's a dear friend. So when I took office by appointment, that agreement has been re-upped for those reasons. So I would hope that down the road when I file a run, that I've taken action in office that supports the fact that I am an A-rated NRA. So, in any other of the topics you can imagine, you can probably take a guess where I stand on it. And another time you're going to ask me something, so I want to stop on that side of it, because I want to separate these two discussions. Because clearly, when we talk about the judiciary and the responsibility to abide by our Constitution, some people just seem to think they want to just throw it away and run into our country. So I am not going to do the same kind of violation and not understand those responsibilities. So I'm going to switch now and be your tax collector, Lake County's tax collector, and talk a little bit about the Office of the Tax Collector. Well, first off, the honor is beyond measure to be in this role, and Mr. Cooney clearly is another member of the room, and Commissioner Breeden, to understand that when you go from the point of not being in one of these roles, the sacredness of it, when you actually get in it, there's a word, ineffable. It's indescribable, the surrealness of it and the responsibility. And when Rick Scott was in Lake County on November 3rd, Paul Tracker, I assume you were there, things he said that struck me was he talked about the honor of being the governor of our state for 2 terms. And then he said this thing. This is what struck me, and it stays with me. It's the only thing that's as great as the honor, and this isn't verbatim, was the responsibility that comes with that honor. So, note to self, David. My goal is to earn your trust and to be, as the bio said, to be a good steward of your time and money. Why do I bring up time when you hold an official post? You guys go to our office, you know, we deal with more people than, I dare say, Walmart. I don't know what their numbers are, but anyhow, we deal with in our 3 regional service centers, on an average day, it can be 2,000, easily. And we're not talking about really simplistic transactions, we're talking about very complicated issues. In particular, do you have a legal right to be here to get a driver's license, to get an ID card? That's a huge responsibility. In your time, I know what my time's worth, and I only have so much, and God is knowing when it's going to run out. And being in the accountancy discipline, you want to reconcile regularly. And that is, whatever your time's worth to you, quantitatively or qualitatively, we respect that, and we figure one of the ways we can be conservative is with your time. That if you spend less time there, you don't come back 20 times, etc. We've done some kind of reinvestment into you. The money is the obvious, and that is how much you spend to do what you do in government. The other part of the money is guarding the money you have in public trust. I think what a friend, a colleague, said to me right after I got appointed is, and I've been in this for quite a while, is the tax collector's office, or the constitutional or the tax collector's office, is best, I guess, described as a trust. So I am a trustee of your funds because we collect for a multitude of entities. So that whether it's the state, there's federal government withholding we do with certificate, fixed income and stuff, the county, the cities, districts. If I start saying how many of them, I start getting dizzy because as a Republican, that's when it really hits you. Be at the tax collector's office and watch people paying taxes. You have to take something to keep your stomach from getting upset. Mind you, we don't spend $500 million that come through our office. We give it to folks. And most, fortunately, in Lake County, we're by and large, our county officers are conservatives and they toe the line. So we're very blessed in that. And I'm honored to serve among the constitutional officers in Lake County to have that mindset. And it's in their heart. I'm personally and politically accountable to you. And I'm free of any undue influence. Now that can sound a little like, wait, what's he saying? What that means is 0 excuses, David, and 100% accountability. You have nothing to point to say, well, no, it's you. Here you go. You've been delegated that authority through the state constitution to the people of Lake County to do this job. And your hands aren't tied. So there's no bellyaching. Do the job. And do it right. Or Mr. Grinnell's condition. Our duties are a creature of the Florida legislature. And Mr. Cooney jumped there because he knows that when the legislature convenes, even our Republican legislature, you always get a little of what's coming next to do, which we don't mind working. But as it turns out, each of these duties they are giving to local elected constitutional officers are best, again, as a Republican, a government closer to us is more responsive. Hence, why am I here? Well, I love y'all, but I also know I work for you. And I gotta be here. I have to be approachable. If not, whatever, get rid of that guy, get another one. Or a gal. Now, the law says what we're to do, and in most cases, or I shouldn't say most, in some cases says, this is how you do it. And then there's times it doesn't say how you do it, and that's left to the discretion of that constitutional officer as they see fit to carry out that business. That part right there is where you need to be concerned with the true values and beliefs politically about office holding. That's the wiggle room, if you will. But here's
here's the next part, and I think this is where we are the proudest of our office, and it's something I'm very proud to have been associated with dear friend Bob McKee, who I had the pleasure of having lunch with yesterday. And he asked me to say hello, because I told him I'd be here, and send his love, and he is, if you know him, I'm convinced he would enjoy being retired. He is. I saw it in his face, and I could see it in him. He is definitely in the next chapter of his life, and he'll go well, and he's very grateful for the opportunity of having this position for those years. But the thing that he and I talked about a lot, Kathy, Madrid, and Pat, Kathy's been at the office longer than I have. She's been there 21 years. Was the spirit of how we do what we do. So where does that come from? Quite frankly, I think it comes from you have something bigger in your life going on. You have something that is going to guide your conscience. So I think that's my Lord that convicts my heart to do what I do. I'm not ashamed to admit that, and I don't think it's inappropriate in our form of government for me to be able, or any of us, to express, even if it's different than mine. I still have mine and you have yours, to express that. Well, this brings us to the most important component of the office, people. That's what our society is. That's why our form of government is so important. So our focus has been on three categories, if you will, administratively. The first one is customer service interaction. Is we're people-centric. I mean, we just deal with people. Right now, we're going to have, in the future, a way where I can online, actively, live show you right here what's going on in one of our offices, like how many of these kind of customers are waiting, how long they've waited, who's serving what, etc. But I can tell you right now, Kathy and Pat are going, they can probably see the picture in their mind of the QFlow software. But the most important thing in that area, and I'll associate a word to it, and I've shared with the staff my vision, is a simple word called kindness. That's a pretty broad word when you're dealing with someone. When they aggravate you, this, whatever, you got to get back to the kind spot. Don't be afraid. Peace is on us. We can get through this. Or I need to get someone help me. The second focus is the fiduciary responsibilities. And some words that pop to my mind are careful, judicious, and conservative. It's dealing with the money. Money. We always say money. What's money? Money's someone's earning. Someone did something by their brow that you now have. Well, we took. So, and it's entrusted to you, David. That's, you got someone else back at me. And other people who spend that money. The third is the management of our systems that we use to continuously improve qualitatively and quantitatively. That if we can save money, if we can save time, or we can improve a particular process, those things kind of roll together eventually as you're going through it. And then the words with that would be focused, diligent, and dutiful. So there it is. When we're looking at stuff at the office, we're negotiating a contract, deciding whether we're going to do this or that. It's with a mindset, on number 3 here, with those kind of words, those activities. So now here's how do you determine if I am executing my responsibilities, or if not, in fact, excelling? A few things I'll go through. First off, although there's an independence to the office, another beauty of our form of government is checks and balances. I'll give you an example, and we'll go through some other things. When someone fails to pay their property taxes, for example, on their real estate, there's, unfortunately in Florida, there's a respect for property rights. So the not paying your tax deal where you actually wind up losing your property is a very extensive process. The due process, what they call uniform collection, method of collection in Florida is one that is the courts have pointed to in other jurisdictions, and if you want to be in line with the U.S. Constitution, follow that. All right, when someone gets to a point where it really gets to they're not paying it, we're 2+ years out, now it's time for a tax deed application or a sale, the actual sale of the property. Here's a beauty in our form of government. I don't do that. Mr. Cooney does. So, now, that's not how I meant that. Mr. Cooney, I'm going to redo that. What I meant by that is that I don't have ultimate authority and power to actually complete the execution. You know what I'm saying? So it then goes, now his office goes through, has a whole division that extensively, and it's beyond the statutory requirements because the courts have extended even broader responsibility that he has in notifications. So what I'm pointing here is, and I wish I would have thought of that from a humor standpoint. I stumbled into that one. But basically, that's the check and balance. Just like Mr. Baker does the assessment of values, not Ms. Reed. Ms. Reed determines how much money to run the county government. So that's how this thing works, and I think it's God created. So other ones are, the Department of Revenue has two oversights for the tax collectors in Florida. One is our budget, that's who approves our budget. Two is anything we do in the property tax area of the office, as well as Mr. Baker, is overseen by the Department of Revenue. There's very specific laws and statutes of things we can and can't do without their review of it. The other is Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle. They have certain audit issues over us too in what we do with motor services, which is a significant amount of money that comes in, but not in comparison to real estate tax. But it is in count of things you do and transactions that you have to account for. We also, through all the constitutional officers and the county commission, we're subject to every year as an independent financial audit, so that our financial reports are determined to be materially sound. Mr. McKee, his entire tenure, had never had a management comment in any one of his audits. Note to self, David. Peer review. The Tax Collectors Association has an opportunity where it's not a rubber stamp deal, where you present certain things to them, and there have been tax collectors not awarded these recognitions of financially sound organizations or operationally sound. We've had it every year. Note to self, David. Again, that's where we'll go. Your experience dealing with our staff, that is a huge honor. And I won't say what it is. I know how I feel about them. I love them. I know them. And I'll leave that to you. You tell me whether it's where it should be. And if it's not, then we have a kind way we want to approach dealing with that. How we hire, we don't hire by some rigid method that's, some legalistic approach. We sit down with people and find out who they are. And I'll tell you that anybody sound in the accounting world or putting safeguards in place for money in business or government, the first line of defense for fraud is who's working with you. Now, that doesn't excuse having sound business practices in place, internal controls, which, by the way, Mrs. Madrid is an expert, absolute expert on. Constantly, her wheels are spinning. How do we keep a watch on everything? But those are the two things. How do you have your business practices in place and those people? And some people say, well, you hire this person as good old boy, good old girl, whatever. I know who that is. I know who their mom is, their dad. That's an important component. Again, local government. And we don't make a practice of hiring people that live 58 million miles away to drive to work every day. I want to know who they are. I want to be able to read them. Mrs. Madrid, who has greater discernment than I can say, to which I defer to the council on my work. And the other thing, which is and I'd be happy to assist anybody in this endeavor, is open government in Florida. There is no government in the world, that's not a dramatic statement, that is open government is Florida. It is a constitutional right of the people, anybody, any human, can come in, can email, can whatever, and ask for something. The only thing you cannot, which is an equal responsibility, is you can't divulge as an officer anything that the statutes, the legislature said, is exempt from inspection. And when you exempt from inspection, you have to give a statutory provision to why you can't. So that's the perfect way you want government. You want it with the lights on and fluorescent lights, not tungsten. And so that keeps the best of us and the worst of us in check. And that is also how your meetings run, obviously. They're advertised, they're recorded, you can go in, everybody has a right to speak, etc. Okay, what's coming up in the future? You're the new guy, David, and Mr. Cooney and I were joking. I'm the rookie of constitutional officers. I relieved Mr. Cooney of that recently. And also, I have not done something that he has, which is run for office and win. Note to self, David. That's what I want to do. And I believe the best way to do that is what he and I have done, and that is based on your performance and your behavior prior to seeking that request, that sacred request from the public. So what's coming up on the horizon? One of the things we just really started getting into is how many here have heard tourist development tax?
Tax?
Tourist development tax.
Oh, tax.
That's bed tax. Who's heard bed tax? Okay. It's a gross receipt tax that the county commission, through an ordinance, levies, and through that ordinance, the tax collector is responsible for administering. And we recently met with the chair of the county commission to go into more from the collection into what's called, and this is a word I don't like because this is not how you approach something first, but it's called enforcement and audit. Because you can't just have someone come up and say, trust me. Do not ever vote for someone that says, trust me. It would be my recommendation. I've been in those situations before. Someone asked me that. But it's interesting, there's a change, as all of us know, in the environment that a lot of our technology we get to leverage. There's huge good in it, which is some of the things we're working on now to save money and save the need for more people as our office demands grow, either through transaction numbers or through added responsibilities. Well, there's actually this really popular organization that's called Airbnb, if you've ever heard of it, that has asked Mr. McKee, sent a document to him, said, would you sign this agreement? It's a taxpayer agreement. How many of y'all here have a taxpayer agreement? Well, why aren't you special enough? And then you say to me, trust me. Now I want to cover the ground of trust me. The trust me part is when the agreement says something in words of similar import, just so I'm not, because that thing's on, things, is it says in it that you won't audit, you'll take our word for it, similar words, that there's no look-back period. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Drew, if I could, please. This is the one that wire right now, because I named a grant. But I have not said anything that I cannot substantiate. Because it's a public record. You're welcome to come see it. I'd like to take a copy. It asks that we not disclose certain things. What did I say? One of the abilities to keep government in check, open government? Sunshine. Sunshine. Don't show you this agreement's several county tax collectors have signed it, and the Department of Revenue. Now with DeSantis as our governor, I have a sneaking suspicion that might roll back. Okay? There's some things we want to do, and this is a big topic. Now, for right now here in Lake County, we've gone on, we've done some initial investigations, looked into some stuff, and I sent out 60 letters to 60 folks that we had the impression that weren't registered. Now, I'll tell you another thing about tourist development tax that Kathy gave you that look right now. Because it can expose a private enterprise, so make it so vulnerable, there are so many things by law that I can't talk about if I do is actually a crime. Okay? That's not an exaggeration. And that's for respecting government exposing private business, and you know their gross receipts. You can go from there what you can do with that. But we sent these 60 out. Well, the nice thing about Lake County is 60 responses like that. Most of it was not having the knowledge. People had just a little extra money, renting out a room, or this or that. Well, there is a multitude of consequences behind that. It jeopardizes your homestead exemption if you don't properly communicate with Mr. Baker. He can carve certain things out, he's explained to me. You can then we can have a lien on that property. It's pretty forceful. There's a tangible personal property tax issue that's involved that you have to file with Mr. Baker's office at DR 485, I believe it is, to determine if you have the exemption, et cetera, and a business tax receipt, which is like occupational license that we have. So I'm proud to say the initial walk into it, it's been very responsive. So the approach, and when I met with the chair, Ms. Campione, is that we take a kinder approach to it initially and to kind of work as an education. We're going to work with the commission for an outreach and education to get it out there. And we also have other private folks that put on sporting events in South Lake County that want to partner with the Office of the Tax Collector because they know where these specific places are and can have a requirement to prove that they're registered with our office. So this is a huge thing we're starting. There's actually someone going to be assigned to that to be our officer to enforce that audit, etc. So we're in our baby steps right now, and our initial response has been great. The other one is with the growing nature of transactions and the folks showing up at our service centers, is that it's going to be a need to keep hiring people in the front line. Well, we sit there and look, it's like, well, if we keep this approach, you can't hire your way out of certain things. If you're a private enterprise and you know it's going to affect your bottom line. So the government, to be a good public servant that claims you're a conservative Republican, you need to be dutiful and looking at how can we be smarter about this. Well, we have ebb and flows in what we do. So what we did this time is we're starting a part-time program. And we're going to partner with part of that with Lake Sumter State College. Again, to kind of get a pick of the litter of folks. And if they're a student, we don't have to pay the Florida retirement system. It's not like trying to get away with paying something, but that's a student who would enjoy that money, a decent pay that we know has been vetted to some degree through a partnership with the college locally. So, and the tax dollars are kind of going back. They're earning it, but it's going back into our community in a way that's positive, if you will. That started out, and our business analyst and our HR director are working on that as we speak. And that's to do that with the number we did. If we hired 4 people full-time versus 8 people doing 20 hours, it's a $90,000 delta to the positive. So that's an effort. The other is we're going to do some other things I'll kind of pick up here with is birth certificate issuance. When folks come in to do certain things with driver's license, with the Real ID Act, you have to have what they call a breeder document, which is legal presence that people. Well, if you're in Florida, your birth certificate is with Vital Statistics, which is a department within the health department. So what we could do then is instead of sending someone over there to out there where our building office for UMass used to be, and used to sending out, go over and deal with someone with the state over there, pay the money, and come back, get back in the queue, go through the deal. We can have someone in our office do a memorandum of understanding, and our business analyst also working that right now. I think he's in Osceola County, we're looking at their process. So now, why do I say that? It seems kind of boring, but here's the deal, because if you can imagine, somebody comes in like that and you send them away, they're back. They're back, it costs money. And there's no more revenue. So if you had a regular business, you wouldn't be doing that. CFX, and switch up on you here. Central Florida Expressway. In January of last year, there were 1,200 license plate renewals in our South Lake Regional Service Center and the Northeast, the one on David Walker, that had what's called a stop in the state database that we go in to renew your license plates on people who came in because they either did a bad read going through one of the tolls or they just ran it. So what happens is the Expressway Authority can go into that mothership in Tallahassee and put a freeze on it. So then you walk up to the counter and Hannah is waiting on you in Claremont and she goes, I don't renew it. He goes, look, there's a stop. You owe $2. So back out to the lobby, call them, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there are a multitude of these kind of things. Well, what we're going to do is we just sign an agreement with CFX. We can collect it right there. And then send the money to them and get you out the door. So it goes on along those lines. There's some other ones. I did the impression that it stopped.
I'd like to have a couple questions.
Okay. And the last thing I share is that we've done a reduction in our senior management positions in the office when Mr. McKee retired. hired by 2 right now through a domino effect, and then use the pay rate on that to address our frontline folks are not, we've been working on getting their pay to a competitive pay, and they're the ones that do the work all day long, and they're the ones that serve you. So we move that number almost to exactly where it needs to be in parity with other county official pay rates, and that's who's earning the money, it's who's doing it. And so we did that without altering the budget. And again, I think we could get more done with fewer people that are better paid, better quality people than have a mass of people you pay $9 to. And then we're going to have express lanes started where you can go on your phone, renew your tag, and then pick where you want to pick it up. You walk into the front desk, say, hey, David Jordan, here you go. Count where you go. And that started too. So all these things add up. Our goal is 5 seconds here, 1 minute there, times tens of thousands, saves time, less employees, less expense.
Good. Other questions for David?
It's not a question, it's a comment of appreciation from the county commissioner, because not only are you looking at new programs that can benefit the public, but at the same time, you're looking at efficiencies that are going to keep the cost down.
Thank you. That's a huge badge of honor. Thank you.
I just have a compliment. I had to renew my driver's license, the big whole shebang in August. And I also ended up getting concealed carry in December because now we have a non-Republican agricultural commissioner, so I want to be careful. But both times it was very efficient, and I didn't even tell anybody I knew you. And it went very smoothly. Everybody was kind and helpful, and I have nothing but good things to say about your office. This is one in Claremont.
I'm very proud of you.
Assuming the rest are like that.
Vance, can do ladies first?
Sure.
Okay.
So the only thing I would say, is there a better way to get a better picture for your driver's
Yeah.
I can't do anything about the machine, because that's the state. That's a governor and cabinet issue. But if you are in our office and you take a picture and you don't like it, you can. That's Pat did this. You can in our office. You can say, let me go to the powder room and come out. When someone does, that's the
I'm
spirit.
not vain, it just was a bad hair day.
I have bad hair days every day. Ma'am?
I just want to compliment to your office. In November, I had to renew my pay registration and all of that stuff. And it was so efficient. I mean, if you go in the afternoon about 2 o'clock, you go right in, you get the number, and I mean, I didn't even get a chance to sit down. And
You're
2
right.
minutes I was up.
Lunch is busy. Mondays and Fridays, those are the peaks.
But
We got
it
it all
was,
wrapped out.
I got treated very well.
Now, Vance was before Walter, sorry. Yes, sir.
As you know, or maybe you don't know, I've been on a path of asking all the constitutional officers why they've never had a performance audit from the Inspector General of the county. And it's not specified, it's not required. You can have, and I know I've got a whole posse of people here, and I've also experienced the efficiencies in your office, but my issue is that why should constitutional officers avoid any kind of review for efficiency, effectiveness, and economy? And
If I hear a question, I think I'll...
the question is, would you commit towards, within, say, 3 months, and Mr. Cooney has also heard this same issue, is request that the Inspector General, who he now has hired a new Inspector General that's a certified internal auditor, to go through a performance audit. Because none of the constitutional officers have ever had one.
Well, I'm going to go through a performance audit in 2020, called the election.
That's what the sheriff says, and I don't accept that.
You don't have to agree with me, that's for sure. Okay. The sheriff told me, David, it's elected official,
All
do
right.
yourself, and not everybody's going to agree with you. But let me say this, Vance. You know, I get what you're saying, but what did I talk about? A big chunk of the time time the separation of power of government, the wisdom and the vision of the framers of the state constitution put the constitutional responsibility and authority, and I would ask Mr. Cooney to jump in a second and help me out. That his job is, he does have a responsibility related to the county commission. It's a legislative body. There's a little difference here. And he is an independent constitutional officer who also, I believe, has their checkbook and manages your money for you. So there is a unique relationship, and that's just one huge chunk of his responsibilities, not mentioning the courts and other things. So there's that. That's how that was set up. Then you have the independence of the constitutional officer. So why don't we just say, Mr. Baker, do the performance audits of the clerk, or the performance audits of, because the order has been set and it's been that way since 1887 and has worked really well. And that all the audits will bear out in that. And again, the legislature leaves to the elected official that's locally, and which I'm proud of the people of Florida who have voted to pass Amendment 10, which will put elected officials in every county in the 5 constitutional positions, because Dade County does not have a elected sheriff. They have an appointed, hired gun, literally. So there's no independence. So you have this bigger government that people can't reach to. We have a divided, when I say divided, it's not a good word, a division in our responsibilities. And I've heard you ask that question before, Mr. Jochim, and I appreciate your perspective. And from someone who doesn't really become a real good study of our constitutional form of government is going to have a hard time buying it. It's like someone saying, separation of church and state. Oh yeah, I'm with that. But we have the Establishment Clause. But Florida, let me give you an example, in the Constitution has 15 wicked words in it. It's called the Blaine Amendment. You know what that is? It says nowhere in any treasurer, in any county, any city, anywhere, forget how 15 words go, will pay to a religious entity any money. You go, well, of course. Well, let me put that in perspective. That's why Bush v. Holmes failed the Supreme Court. So we have 15 words in our Constitution that are pretty whacked. They don't allow government to do contracts. And I just say, well, they are. Well, the courts have said it is unconstitutional. Someone just hasn't challenged it. So my point is we have to be careful how we start throwing these buzzwords around in these phrases and not really having a grasp of how it's going to have that what they call unintended consequences. And so, and I'm not anywhere running from any kind of sunlight or inspection other than my house. That's my domain. My house is like our Constitution preserver. That office is y'all's. We are an open book, and I'm happy to share. And I remember spending 3 hours with you with Mr. McKee one time, going through everything in the world there. So you're my auditors. If I've said anything out of line, Mr. McKee, I will.
So you're saying trust me?
No,
Vance.
Vance, run for office and let me know how it goes.
Okay.
I have just a slight concern. I had to renew my driver's license this year, and I had to sign my name on the electronic signature pad, which looks nothing like my regular signature.
Right.
So if I decide I want to go vote absentee, and somebody at Alan Hayes' office looks at my signature on an absentee ballot, it's not going to match what you guys have in your records now. Is there some way that they can make a provision so that we can put our signature on a real paper or something? Because that electronic. And one other quick thing too. You guys do voter registration there, and of course I watch the voter statistics, and the Republican Party registration is going up, yay. Yeah. But the NPA one seems to be going up faster. And I was curious, when someone comes in and your clerk says, "Are you registered to vote?" and they say
They
no.
don't say. They don't ask them. Everybody fills out the application. There's a record. Everybody. And forgive me for saying this, but follow me for a second. The League of Women Voters decided that because they wanted to know how it goes. Well, we sat down for half a day, Mark O'Keefe and I and Mr. McKee, and went through from a very, what do you want to say, suspicious eye, if you will, to be respectful. Which is fine. Back to Vance's point, I don't mind that. actually left and said, oh, okay, this is good. So it's very thorough. In fact, not only done that, just recently we started a quality review that specifically looks at two huge issues with driver's license. That's one, motor voter, which technically we don't register. It's a pre-registration that goes over to Mr. Hayes. And we have an active relationship with him from the results of that, because when you deal with tens of thousands of things, there are no perfect humans, but you have to have a system in place to ensure. So through that process, we find things. We're not perfect, but we fix it immediately. And also creates, that's why we went to do an application, because we didn't like the idea of it, especially with technology today. Hey, what's your social security number? Someone's got their phone up there. Or what's your birth date, et cetera, what party you want to be. And we don't want our staff engaged in a, today I'm serving everybody, what do you want to do? And there's the form, you check the box. Or you say, I don't want to. Believe it or not, some people check that box. So it's a record. Now to the signature issue, the state has to go through this competitive bidding thing. The government has to do when you buy something. So when they awarded the contract to refresh the driver's license process which is a gazillion dollar thing, it's the whole state. One of the competitors that didn't get it has filed suit. So they tell us it's 6 months at least. So I believe in that is some things addressed pertaining to that. They know that that's a problem. Okay. Unfortunately, that's not in my 100% side. A lot. Yes, ma'am?
Can I just say, in reference to this question about the signature, I've worked on the Lake County Election Board for about 18 years. And I would like to say that this electronic signature is much more efficient for the inspectors, because we are comparing that signature to your driver's license signature, which is an electronic signature. So the electronic signature system that we're using now is far better for us. In the old days, we were comparing that electronic signature to a regular signature. Now, when you vote absentee, that signature is being compared to your signature that you filed for registering to vote, which does not look like your driver's license signature.
Right.
So I think it's better. As an inspector, I
I
felt far better saying, yes, that is that person's signature.
Our minds are always going about different things in our office that we have absolute control over. And this, right now, something I'm thinking about, and Dr. Walter said, about getting your license and going through the process, getting everything in order. The state has empirical evidence whether someone, in other words, are you legally present? Not that, are you a citizen of the United States for you to be a voter? The issue of driver's license. Now, some of them are immigrants, some are different categories, but they only get it if you have a legal presence or you're a citizen. So I'm thinking there's other ways that the state could possibly link some things to do a correlation with that. You have actual legal ability to vote. And the fact you get a driver's license with a certain little mark on it, they put a star on it now. For Real ID, why can't you put something on there that there's been some diligent process to confirm that when David Jordan pulls his driver's license out for you there, that one is a Real ID Act, I'm a U.S. citizen, and that I've been vetted to be an actual voter, that I can vote, but I'm a legal citizen of the United States of America.
Isn't that what the star means?
The star means you're legally present, that you've proven that you can legally be here. Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, is that right? Because Pat worked on the front lines for a while and understands the finites of it. So if I come in with my green card, I've proven legal presence, I still get a star, right? Okay.
Yes. Been through all of the legal paperwork with immigration.
I forgot about that.
So I'm suggesting have some other kind of demarcation that says, click, maybe that data that the state has, the Secretary of State can have to. So it's just an idea. Now I know here again we're spending money. It's the government's doing something, but it might be never worth the dollars.